Thank you very much. A short time ago, the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the three key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime: Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. Everybody heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise. Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Tonight, I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier. For 40 years, Iran has been saying death to America, death to Israel. They have been killing our people, blowing off their arms, blowing off their legs with roadside bombs. That was their specialty. We lost over 1,000 people, and hundreds of thousands throughout the Middle East and around the world have died as a direct result of their hate. In particular, so many were killed by their general, Qasem Soleimani. I decided a long time ago that I would not let this happen. It will not continue. I want to thank and congratulate Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. We worked as a team like perhaps no team has ever worked before. And we've gone a long way to erasing this horrible threat to Israel. I want to thank the Israeli military for the wonderful job they've done. And most importantly, I want to congratulate the great American patriots who flew those magnificent machines tonight, and all of the United States military on an operation the likes of which the world has not seen in many, many decades. Hopefully, we will no longer need their services in this capacity. I hope that's so. I also want to congratulate the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Raisin-Kane, spectacular general, and all of the brilliant military minds involved in this attack. With all of that being said, this cannot continue. There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran far greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days.
This is the book of Revelation, chapter 17 and verse 16. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. Alright, shalom, shalom, Akim. Before I begin, I want to start off by giving all praises, honor, and all glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Kakurash. Alright, double honor to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule and teach well. Peace and salutations unto the helpful elect. Alright, I'm the brother Gabari Allah coming at you with another lesson, man. And this lesson is going to be based off this article. Okay, and some very exciting times to say the least. Alright. So I have this article pulled up by USA Today. Okay, it says U.S. hits Iran nuclear facilities, braces for counter-attack. Okay, so it says Washington, the United States, has attacked Iran, bombing sites associated with Trump's nuclear facilities. President Donald Trump announced Saturday night in a social media post. So today is Saturday, okay, and it says Saturday night because although in California it's 7:11 p.m. Out there in Florida, and the Eastern Standard Time is actually 10 p.m. right now. So they're 3 hours ahead. So for them it would be considered nighttime already. Now, this news just broke out. All right, it just broke out right now. All right, Salakia. So, real quick. That's why I opened up with the book of Revelation, chapter 17 and verse 16. But, yeah, I'll just get to the point. Or actually, I'll start at verse 15. And he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and tongues and nations, and multitudes and nations and tongues. So that whore being Babylon the Great, okay? The reason it is described as a whore is because Babylon has used up these other nations. Okay, Babylon has a lot of husbands, if you will. Okay, Babylon has been sleeping around. Babylon has been tossed. Okay, and Babylon has a hold over these other nations. Okay, Babylon has taken advantage of these other nations. Okay, just like a whore would. Okay, of taking advantage of multiple men. Okay, so it says, verse 16, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore. Okay, and pretty much the 10 horns being other nations. Okay, these other nations are going to hate the whore, being America. Okay, and it says, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. So what can make a whole nation or a whole country burn with nuclear fire? Or what will it take for it to burn with fire? Okay, the only answer, they're not going to light a fire. Okay, they're going to do it via nuclear destruction. Okay, now we know this because it's prophecy. I just read it to you. But as well, I'm going to grab this. All right. Bear with me, Baba Kasha. My Wi-Fi is lagging. Salakia. Give me a moment. All right, I'll just grab this. The book of Jeremiah. All right. So this is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 50. Salakia. Jeremiah, chapter 50. And I'm going to start at verse 1. The word that the Lord Yahweh spake against Babylon and against the land of the Chaldeans by Jeremiah the prophet. Declare ye among the nations, and publish, and set up a standard, publish, and conceal not. Say, Babylon is taken, Bel is confused, Merodach is broken in pieces, her idols are confounded, her images are broken. Now, Jeremiah prophesied in ancient Babylon, okay, but Babylon has been revived and is right now, okay. Babylon is, also referred to in the scriptures as being America, okay. So it says, I'm gonna jump down a little bit to I'm gonna jump down a bit. And I'm going to start at verse 8. Jump down to verse 8. Remove out of the midst of Babylon, and go forth out of her land of the Chaldeans, and be as the he-goats before the flock. It reads on, it says, for lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country, and they shall set themselves in array against her. Okay, and pretty much that word array, meaning against her, pretty much going to be at war with Babylon. Okay, it says, from thence she shall be taken, their arrows shall be as a mighty extra man, none shall return in vain. Now it mentions arrows. Okay, back in the ancient days, you would shoot an arrow, okay, because it was a way to do damage via, a distance. Okay, nowadays, a more advanced way of looking at it would be a nuke. Okay, because a nuke, is way better than an arrow for obvious reasons, right? It says, And Chaldea shall be a spoil, and all that spoil her shall be satisfied, saith Yahweh. Because ye were glad, because ye rejoiced, O ye destroyers of mine heritage, because ye are grown fat as the heifer at grass, and below as bulls. Your mother shall be sore confounded. Okay, she that bare you shall be ashamed. Behold, the hindermost of the nations shall be a wilderness, a dry land, and a desert. So Babylon is going to be a dry land, and it's going to be a desert. And it's speaking of this Babylon right now. Okay, this Babylon right now, it says, verse 13, because of the wrath of Yahweh, it shall not be inhabited, but it shall be wholly desolate. Everyone that goeth by Babylon shall be astonished and hiss at her plagues. Right, okay, because, you know, Babylon is seen as the greatest country in the world right now. Okay, nobody can see Babylon, America, being taken down. Nobody sees it. Okay, America has the best aircraft. Okay, America has the best military troops. Okay, America wins all the battles in the ocean. Okay, America is, really good in every part of its military. Okay, America doesn't have a flaw in its military, but it has a major flaw because of Babylon. The Lord has set himself against Babylon. Okay, the Lord wants to get rid of Babylon, and he will do so. It says, here's the point, verse 14. Put yourselves in area against Put yourselves in area against Babylon round about, all ye that bend the bow. Okay, now this bow, like I mentioned before, would be the nukes. Okay, these other nations, an arrow is not going to reach America. Okay, and if it did reach America, a little arrow is not going to do anything to America, right? It says, shoot at her, spare no arrows, for she hath sinned against Yahweh, right? Okay, so what's something that can travel from country to country? What's something that when it hits, it can cause fire? Because we have to remember, back in Revelations, it said that they were going to cause fire, that they was going to burn with fire and brimstone. Well, I didn't grab that yet, but, I'll grab it. But it did say that it was going to be burned with fire. Okay, that's the nukes. All right, it says, shout against her round about. She hath given her hand. Her foundations are fallen. Her walls are thrown down. For it is the vengeance of Yahweh. Take vengeance upon her as she hath done. Do unto her. It says, cut off the sower from Babylon, and him that handleth the stick in the time of harvest. For fear of the oppressing sword, they shall turn everyone to his people, and they shall flee everyone to his own land. All right, and that's exactly what's gonna happen. Okay, everybody's gonna go, all these other nations, the so-called Europeans, they're gonna go back to Europe. Okay, all these national NBA players, they're gonna want to be going back. Everything. Okay, nobody's gonna want to be in Babylon, but guess what? The elect are gonna be in Babylon, but the elect are gonna be saved, and everybody else is gonna be killed and burnt. All right, it says, that's it on that. I'm gonna grab this one real quick, and then we can close. Okay, it says, all right. It says, Revelations chapter 20 and verse, I'll just get to the point. Revelations 20 and verse, that's not what I wanted. Where is it at? Here it is, Revelation 21 and verse 8. It says, but the fearful and unbelieving and the abominable and murderers and whoremongers and scorchers and idolaters and all liars shall have their part in the lake which burneth with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. Okay, and like I said, again, those arrows are going to cause that fire and brimstone. Okay, so those arrows being the nukes, and we see here that President Trump, all right, is we're gonna get it on. We're gonna read it one more time. The actual tweet from Trump. It says, "We have completed our very successful attack on the 3 nuclear sites in Iran, including Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. All planes are now outside of Iran airspace. A full payload of bombs, all capital, was dropped on the primary site. For Fordow, all planes are safely on their way home. Congratulations to our American warriors. This is not another military in the world that could have done this. Now is the time for peace. Thank you for your attention to this matter." Okay, and you can see in the back he says, "Now is the time for peace." I'm going to grab this one and then I'll close out. It says, Book of 1 Thessalonians 5:3, "For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child. They shall have," it says, "and they shall not escape." All right, so, just because they say peace and safety, it don't mean that it's going to be peace and safety, man. So, Lord willing was edifying, Lord willing was uplifting. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, Bahashim, Kakurash. Double honor to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule and teach.